call it a hobby, I call it a way of life, a way that you can stop. You know that I've been training, right? The more you try to fight, the more that I control the fight. And now you on the ropes, now you on the ropes. What you gonna do? Quitting's not an option. That voice in your head that keeps telling you you got this. Slide to you.
So we got an exhaust clip in Aaron's car.
You should have worked a little harder, cause man, your punches are garbage. I dream big. Ain't that the point of it? Let's keep it real, huh? Ain't that the point of it? They used to tell me I was nothing, nothing. Now they tell me that I'm something. What's it gonna take for you to understand the concept? I ain't really got no time for all the nonsense. See to you, this is a joke, a little project. I guess you'll never understand this kind of mindset. Started as a dream, growing to reality.
What's up, YouTube? Today's video is about why we are the people we are. Excuse me. But essentially, the vital part to this YouTube channel is obviously between me and him. We live together, sometimes go to church together. We share a relationship with God together. We're actually in the parking lot of a church. I'm not sure what the name of the church is. But
Emmanuel Lutheran Church.
yeah, well, occasionally he pisses me off.
And he pisses me off all the time, occasionally.
But I guess that's what brothers are for anyways. But let's go ahead and get into my side. Growing up, I was sort of the smaller one. People didn't necessarily agree with me going off and wanting to do my own thing. Mainly, I just wanted to ride my bike, to be quite frank. But I got bullied, I got beat up, called the B word, pretty much any name in the book you can think of. But as a man, as a young woman, you can let those things define you, or you can get up and prove them wrong. Even with past relationships, I've seen similar things with another person, but I won't say anything about who that person is. But I've seen things and they kind of let their past define them, and I'm really not okay with that. And also, I don't know if the camera is crooked, but sorry if it is. But I'm really not okay with... You want to go ahead and fix that?
I'll fix it. You keep going.
I'm really not okay with letting things like that define you. I'm big on having a strong mentality. I am also big on getting up and doing what you got to do. Getting up and grinding. I despise a weak mentality. As you can probably tell by how much I'm stuttering, I'm kind of freestyling this video. But I want to be a light to people. I was always the smaller one to get picked on and beat up, and that was around 12 years old. As you can see now, things have changed since I was 12. But I just want to be a light to show that through God, you can do anything. I always thought that I would be the little one. I always thought that I would be picked on. But one day, I was actually bullied into playing football, which I had no goal of athleticism or whatsoever. But football gave me a sense of discipline. It gave me a place to be every single day. If I wasn't there on time, I had to do extra laps around the field. If I mistreated a teammate, I had to do extra laps around the field. I'm actually in Monroeville, where I went to high school at, over at Heritage, just about 10 minutes from here. But football just gave me a sense of discipline, and through football, I met the weight room, and that is where I started to shine. The beginning of my freshman year, I was actually one of the weakest linemen, and my bench was 155. But I just refused to settle with that. I couldn't stand that everybody else was bigger than me. I was tired of it. And through a lot of hard work and benching pretty much every day for a year, I raised my bench to 350 pounds as a freshman in high school. But my biggest goal with this channel is to show you guys that you can be what you want to be. To show you guys that God is always there with you. All you got to do is call his name. One of NF, my favorite rapper, one of his quotes in, what song is it? Everybody will sleep in the pews and blame God like, yeah, oh Lord. Everybody sleeps in the pews but then blame God for our problems like he's sleeping in you. We turn our backs on him. What do you expect him to do? It's hard to answer prayers when nobody's praying to you. That's a big thing with me. A lot of people I see struggling mentally, physically, they want to stress how much they're suffering, but don't have a relationship with God. And God is not something that you can just take a sip of and maybe it'll work. You have to go all in. And that's one of the quotes from a main event that I went to last year. But don't be lukewarm. With God, you got to be either hot or cold. But I'm going to go ahead and let Aaron take the show.
All right. Good job there, buddy. All right, y'all. I'm Aaron. As y'all have seen me in his YouTube videos quite often. We live together all the time. Growing up, my story was a lot, similar to his. Growing up, first off, I'm short. I'm only 5'7". Growing up, I've always been short. And when I was super young, I was real skinny. But as I got into my middle school years, I was super heavy and super short. And as you can imagine, that led to me as well getting bullied quite often. I would get called names. And then my freshman year in high school was probably one of the worst years I ever had. I was bullied every day, almost every period of that school year. And over that next summer, it actually led me to cause myself to want to commit suicide. I never did. I never attempted to. But the thoughts were there. And as I went through my sophomore year of high school, I really didn't get bullied. I had switched schools. But the complex I had about myself was terrible. I didn't like who I was. I was disgusted every single day. But then I decided that I was tired of being the person that I saw every day in the mirror. And so then in my sophomore year, I began working out in the weight room. And over the summer, I worked out here and there. And then my junior year, I wrestled. And I weighed around 210 when I started wrestling. And then at the end of that season, I weighed 155 pounds. Then I began hitting the weight room hard at that point. And well, now I'm 22. I've been graduated for 4 years now. I've continued to weightlift. When I started weightlifting, my bench was maybe 150 pounds, a lot like Destin's was. Then in my sophomore year, I maxed out at like 100 pounds. But then after wrestling season, it was up in the 150s. But now I have a max bench of 440. On a good day, most weeks I can still put up 405. I'm not quite as strong as I once was about a year ago. But benching and squatting and deadlifting have all given me discipline, and I've had to work real hard to get to those. But it hasn't been easy. It really hasn't, because on top of just the lifting portion of my life, you have everything else that you face in your life. I go through all the problems that anyone else might go through. Growing up, my dad wasn't really there for me for most of my childhood. We were extremely poor. Some days the bills hadn't got paid, so we didn't have any lights, didn't have any water, and that led to be a real rough life. I had switched schools quite a few times. Some days we didn't even have food to eat, so I had to go days without eating. And I'm kind of rewinding here, but the worst summer I had growing up was in 2009. That's the summer I went without eating for the first time. We had always had food, but this summer we went without eating for almost a week. And I went to church camp, and at church camp, that's where I accepted Christ. And so I've been a Christian since I was 13 years old. But even after accepting Christ, as I told you guys before, after my freshman year of high school, I had thoughts of suicide. So that goes to tell you that just because you accept Christ, that doesn't mean life's going to get better. That doesn't mean that life's going to just be easy all of a sudden. You're still going to have obstacles. But I'll tell you one thing, that when you accept Christ and you have Christ in your life, He gives you outlets. He gives you people to turn to. And in this video, you see one of my people I can turn to, Destin. And then we're talking about one of my biggest outlets. In the song Therapy Session by NF, one of our favorite artists, he talks in the end about how God gave him the gift, and that God gave him, the gift of being able to write and rap to kind of be the outlet for him. And so a lot of people mistake our weightlifting for us just trying to do it so that we can walk around proud about ourselves. But in reality, there have been days that the weight room has been my outlet, my stress reliever for both of us. We might have both had a bad day. We meet, we link up, we hit the weight room, and after that, we talk about maybe some of the things we were going through. And so, as he was saying that he wants to be a light to shine to everyone, to say that you can do anything you set your mind to, and that with Christ, anything is possible. I'm right along with him in that, and that's why we do these videos, and we want to reach people in this area, whether it be car enthusiasts, because as you see, we like our cars. They're not the top-notch cars, but they're our cars, and we love them.
Hey, it's a Grand Prix, but you can still get raced.
Yeah. And it's why we lift, why we like cars. We want to reach people that maybe people don't get reached in those areas, and we want to reach them ourselves and be there for people and show them that just because at one point in your life, or maybe even now, things don't look so good and you're not feeling too well about everything, that if you come to know Christ and allow Him to fully work in your life, that you can do anything. That's what we're here for, and why we do what we do. We do it for Christ, and we do it to help other people.
So that is going to conclude this video. But I think his story was great. Hopefully you thought mine was great. Hopefully you took something away from this video. A few weeks ago, he had brought to my attention that I never really explained why I wanted to do videos, or really explained why I do anything that I do. My whole mindset is about having a strong mentality, and sometimes the situation you're in can get the best of you, but you just got to give it to God and He'll get you through it. That doesn't mean, as he said earlier, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park. But if you give it to God and trust in Him and don't just sit from His cup, He'll lead you through it.
Amen, brother. Amen.